welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so you're smart, right? You're capable. You've done all the things you're supposed to do. You save when you can. You put in those long, honestly exhausting hours. Yet there's still that sort of nagging underlying feeling of financial fear. You know? If that sounds familiar, if maybe you kind of dread opening your banking app sometimes. Well, this deep dive is absolutely for you.
Yeah, that feeling. The book we're digging into today actually calls it the quiet panic.
Right.
This constant, low-level fear that you're maybe just one big expense away, a surprise medical bill, the car breaks down, one thing away from your whole financial picture just collapsing.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting. It really is. And it's so common, even for people who are, high achievers, people who feel like they should be past this by now.
Exactly. And the reason we're doing this deep dive today is because the core idea in this book, it completely flips the script on how most of us think about building wealth. It argues the struggle isn't really about effort or intelligence out there in the marketplace. The treasure map, it says, isn't out there somewhere. It's located, and I quote, directly between your ears. Building wealth, it's fundamentally an inside job.
It's a pretty radical shift, right? The book suggests that the reason all that external effort, pushing harder or working longer, often doesn't lead to lasting peace is because our minds, which are basically our reality-generating machines, they're running on faulty programming, like old software, what the book calls garbage software. Those beliefs we picked up ages ago, be realistic, you'll always kind of struggle, money doesn't grow on trees, that kind of stuff.
Oh, that framing is so good. Garbage software. It immediately clicks. We're running on this legacy operating system that's designed for scarcity, not for abundance. So our mission today really is to unpack the system this book lays out, how to recognize that old programming, shut it down for good, and then install this new high-performance OS that's designed specifically for, well, effortless wealth.
And we really need to anchor this whole conversation in the core principle the book uses. It's presented as science, not just wishful thinking. It's the law of resonance. And it's not magic, they insist. It's physics. Basically, whatever frequency you're consistently broadcasting through your dominant thoughts, and crucially, the emotions attached to them, that's exactly what reality, the universe, whatever you want to call it, reflects back to you.
The analogy they use is, I think, perfect for getting your head around this. They tell you to think of yourself as this incredibly powerful radio tower. You're broadcasting a signal, a frequency, 204.7. So if your dominant signal is, let's say, the anxiety and scarcity show, well, then the only listeners you can possibly attract, the circumstances, the people, the events, are the ones tuned into that same kind of low, miserable frequency. So we're diving in today to figure out how to permanently change the channel.
That's exactly the work. And we start with part 1 of the book. This part's called The Power Plant.
Okay.
It's all about the demolition and the foundation work, clearing the fight before you can build anything new and strong.
Okay, so the very first step, and it's a big one, is dealing with that constant kind of destructive chatter in our own heads. Chapter 1 calls this inner critic, the terrible CEO. And you know this voice, right? It's the one that jumps all over that brilliant idea you had in the shower, that little spark of genius, and just immediately pours cold water on it. Uh-oh, probably won't work.
Yeah, it's the uh-oh voice, or the professional cynic, as the book puts it. It's that voice of caution that, pretends it's being responsible, but it's actually a terrible leader. Because its only real job, based on its old programming, is just self-preservation. Keep you safe, keep you small, keep you struggling.
They use this really powerful metaphor, your comfort zone. It's nothing more than a cage you decorate yourself. Oof.
Wow, a cage you decorate yourself. That hits hard. And the real danger of this voice, according to the book, isn't just that it's negative commentary. It's that it's feeding direct instructions to, the most powerful part of us. It's the subconscious mind. The book explains the subconscious is like this incredibly loyal, tireless servant, but totally clueless. It has zero capacity for judgment or irony or figuring out what you really mean. That lack of judgment is so critical to understand. If your terrible CEO is constantly playing that loop ugh, we're always running out of money by the 20th, the subconscious hears that phrase, which is probably charged up with panic or dread, right?
Yeah.
It hears it as a literal direct command, okay, command received, ensure we run out of money, task accepted, no questions asked.
And once that command's locked in, the servant just gets to work. It makes sure you overlook that perfect opportunity right under your nose. It encourages that little impulse buy that tips you over the edge. It attracts, or at least makes you laser focus on, the unexpected bill. It becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy because the subconscious is just executing the program you fed it with incredible, almost robotic efficiency.
And to really understand how the subconscious pulls this off, The book brings in a piece of our actual biology, the reticular activating system, the RAS. Now, this isn't woo-woo stuff. This is a real part of your brain. It's the mind's physical filtration system.
Right.
Think of it like your brain's personal Google search engine.
Yeah, I found this RAS explanation to be a total aha moment.
True.
Like, we're bombarded constantly, right? Billions of bits of data every second. And the RAS's job is just to filter almost all of it out
Yeah.
and only show us what it thinks is important for our survival, or critically, what matches our current focus.
Exactly. And the classic example they give, which makes it super clear, is when you decide you want to buy a specific car. Maybe something a bit unusual, like, I don't know, a vintage green VW bus. All of a sudden, you start seeing green VW buses everywhere. On the highway, parked down the street. They didn't just suddenly appear overnight. Your RAS simply changed its search algorithm. It went from ignore irrelevant traffic to alert, find green VW buses, show user immediately.
Wow. So that means our reality.
Yeah.
It isn't some objective thing we all experience the same way. It's actually a highly filtered experience based on what our internal CEO tells the RAS to prioritize. So if that old, terrible CEO was constantly searching for evidence of how broke I am or how limited my options are, guess what? The RAS delivered nonstop proof, filtering out anything that contradicted it.
The revolutionary step, then, is realizing we can consciously change the search term. We have to. We can give a new positive command like, okay, RAS, new priority. Search for opportunities to create, say, $25,000 this month.
And the book argues the opportunities were probably always there. That freelance gig, the speaking invitation, that investment idea.
Yeah.
But the old CEO had this super aggressive spam filter set up, blocking anything that looked like abundance.
Okay, so the first practical thing to do, according to this system, is something called detached observation. And this sounds simple, but the book warns it's incredibly hard at first. You're basically told to spend a whole day just listening to the garbage commands that little voice spits out. But here's the absolute key. You have to observe it without fighting it, without judging it. Just listen, almost like a scientist observing a specimen, maybe with a little smirk. And doing that consistently leads to this profound separation. That's what allows the demolition work to even begin. You start to realize, truly realize, wait a minute, I am not the voice in my head. I am the one who hears the voice. And once you establish that bit of distance, that separation, you strip that terrible CEO of all its authority. You're basically preparing the ground, getting ready to dismantle that whole faulty foundation. Okay, so we've initiated the hostile takeover of the CEO's office. But just having a new set of positive commands typed out, well, that's pretty useless if the factory, our subconscious, is running on empty fumes. So chapter 2 tackles the real power source. It's called the rocket fuel of emotion. And it immediately flags the single biggest trap that trips up like 90% of people trying to make these kinds of changes.
The trap. That's the sterile thought, isn't it? People try to change their lives using these like robotic, totally lifeless affirmations. They stand there staring in the mirror repeating, I am wealthy, I am abundant, maybe grinding their teeth a little. But inside, they feel like a total fraud. They feel the opposite. They're basically trying to use this amazing new blueprint, but there's zero power supply connected.
Exactly. The book hammers this point. The secret sauce, the thing that actually makes the subconscious sit up and pay attention, is feeling. Not mere words. The feeling is the vibrational frequency. And this is critical, the feeling always wins. Always. So if you're saying, I am wealthy, but the feeling churning in your gut is that paralyzing fear of crushing debt, guess which message the subconscious receives loud and clear?
Yeah, it gets the gut punch, the powerful negative emotion. And the command it receives is instantly flagged as top priority. Crushing debt. Roger that. Dominant emotional command received. Let's manifest more circumstances that validate and maybe even deepen this feeling. So thoughts are like the steering wheel, right? They provide direction. But emotion, that's the gas pedal. And if your foot is simultaneously slamming the brake of fear, all the positive steering in the world won't move you an inch forward.
So the real shortcut, the hack, if you will, is to kind of bypass the lack of current external evidence and learn how to generate the desired feeling first. Right now, the book calls this practice emotional architecture. You don't wait for the $1 million to finally feel free. You learn to architect the feeling of freedom now. And then the money, the circumstances, they start chasing that frequency.
And the book offers this really simple proof that you can do this. It says, you're already a master creator of emotion. Think about, like, the most delicious, perfect meal you've ever had. Close your eyes for a second, smell the aroma, feel the texture in your mouth, really taste the flavor. What happens? You generated a genuine physical response, maybe salivation, a feeling of pleasure, warmth, just from a pure internal memory or thought.
Right. That immediately proves you have this innate power, this capacity to generate any feeling you choose, completely independent of what's happening outside of you. The whole task, then, is to consciously aim that enormous power towards your financial goals, like a laser beam.
And the specific practice they detail for this is really key.
Yeah.
It's a 5-minute immersion. You have to vividly imagine and feel the reality of total financial freedom as if it's already done, already your reality.
Yes. And the details here are crucial. It's not just a vague, I have lots of money. No. It's imagining that specific, maybe slightly mischievous grin you'd have hitting send on that resignation email to a job you hate. Or maybe it's the deep, profound sigh of peace after you've paid off a loved one's entire medical debt. Or the sheer thrill bubbling up as you book that first-class flight to Italy, knowing the money is just flowing. The physical sensations, the emotional details, they have to be so rich, so real, that your body genuinely registers the feeling of abundance right here, right now.
And by doing that, by vividly living in that feeling for just 5 sustained minutes, the book explains you're literally forcing neuroplasticity. You're forging new neural pathways. You're overriding the old worn-out scarcity circuit and physically recalibrating your internal radio tower to the freedom frequency. You're basically forcing the law of resonance to respond to the new feeling you're broadcasting. This isn't passive wishing, it's the hard work of emotional discipline.
Which takes us perfectly into Chapter 3, where this whole mechanism of resonance gets applied to everyday life. And they use one of the most powerful analogies in the entire book here. The world is a giant, hyper-realistic mirror.
A mirror.
Okay.
And this mirror, it has zero ability to act on its own, right?
Yeah.
It reflects back the dominant emotionally charged face you're making at it. So if you're constantly looking out at reality with worry and scarcity and distrust kind of etched into your thoughts and feelings, well, the world, the mirror, has no choice but to reflect back fearful situations, more scarcity, people who maybe betray your trust.
The absolute insanity, then, that most people are unknowingly engaged in is spending their entire lives trying to somehow manipulate the reflection. They're yelling at the mirror, right? Trying to force it to smile back at them by, I don't know, working 100 hours a week or chasing clients with this desperate energy. All while internally their feelings are still stuck on, I'm not good enough, or I'm fundamentally poor.
Right. It's like the architect trying to change the building's appearance by shouting at the blueprint. The book makes it clear. It's totally futile. The only way to change the reflection is to change the face first. That internal shift from feeling lack to feeling abundance has to happen before the external evidence shows up.
And this gets explained further using another great analogy, sympathetic vibration. The tuning fork example. If you think of yourself as the first tuning fork, your dominant emotional state dictates the note you're constantly humming. If you're vibrating at that low, kind of desperate frequency of always in debt, well, the higher frequency tuning forks of opportunity, like the big contracts, the serendipitous connections, the really wise investments, they literally cannot hear you. They can't respond. They're vibrating way too fast for your slow signal to even register.
But conversely, when you consistently do the work, the emotional architecture practice, and you genuinely start humming that powerful note of grateful, confident, prosperous, well, then those tuning forks of opportunity, they start to hum right back at you, automatically. It's not magic. The book frames it as a fundamental law of the universe. Like attracts like.
And they give that really compelling job interview example to ground this. It makes it so practical. Let's picture person A walking into an interview. Okay, they desperately need this job. They're worried sick about making rent. Internally, their frequency is basically screaming, needy, weak, please hire me.
And their subconscious is broadcasting that neediness like a foghorn, right?
Yeah.
The interviewer, who's acting as the mirror in this scenario, subconsciously picks up on that low-level desperation. And how do they respond? Probably with timid, non-committal answers, hedging their bets. The result is the inevitable reflection of person A's broadcast. Thanks for coming in. We'll keep you on file. The system just confirmed the signal. Now contrast that with person B. They walk into the same interview, but they've done the inner work. They read their statement of intent that morning. They practice feeling free and capable. So they walk in confident, humming that note of value and abundance. They know their worth. They're not relying on this single job. They're offering their unique contribution. They ask intelligent, confident questions. What's the reflection they get back? Very likely, this is great. When can you start?
Wow. Same job, potentially the same skills on paper,
But a completely different outcome, based entirely on the broadcast. Your life is one giant job interview, and your only real job description, Cultivate the internal feelings of success first. Okay, this internal work, it's clearly demanding. And chapter 4 dives right into the resistance that inevitably pops up. We've got the mere concept. We understand the power of emotion. But now we have to deal with the existing structures, the old programming. This chapter is all about the full demolition job. The title says it all, sledgehammering the inner slumlord.
Isn't that a brilliant analogy? Your mind is like this prime piece of real estate, potentially worth billions, but maybe you inherited it with this dilapidated, possibly rat-infested slum built on it. That's all the limiting beliefs, the poverty programming, the financial malware. And worse, there's this nasty, tenacious slumlord that's the ego whose job it is to fiercely defend these crummy beliefs, often insisting, no, this is just how things are, this is reality, this is who we are.
Oh yeah, we all recognize the specific malware programs running here. Beliefs like money is inherently hard to come by, or you have to kind of step on others to get ahead, or that really sneaky, destructive one. Rich people are somehow unethical or bad. And the book points out that last one. That's often the subconscious mind trying to protect your sense of being a good person by keeping you broke. If being broke makes you morally good, why on earth would your subconscious let you risk becoming bad by getting wealthy?
It's insidious. So to finally clear this contaminated site, the book lays out this non-negotiable, really meticulous 3-step demolition process. Step 1 is expose the rot. This requires a total brain dump. You literally sit down and write out every single negative thought, lesson, warning, or anecdote you ever heard or absorbed about money. From family, your childhood environment, the media, everything. You have to drag these often deeply buried, fear-based programs out into the open where you can actually look at them objectively.
And that exposure process.
Yeah.
It's surprisingly tough, isn't it? Because so many of those thoughts disguise themselves as just common sense or being realistic.
Right.
But once you've got them written down, step 2 begins. The sledgehammer of truth. You take each specific belief one by one, and you challenge it with 3 pretty brutal questions designed to just shatter its authority over you.
The first question is devastatingly simple. Is this 100% true? And the instruction here is clear. If you can find even one person on the planet for whom money flows easily and joyfully, or one wealthy person who is ethical, then your belief is instantly invalidated. It crumbles. It's not a universal law. It's just a widespread, maybe even lazy opinion you adopted.
Okay, that's powerful. Then the second question, where did I get this belief? This is all about depersonalization. Maybe you realize you inherited the belief our family can never get ahead from a parent who went through a really tough layoff during a recession. By identifying the source, you see it's not your inherent truth. It's like a secondhand emotional artifact you picked up. You can mentally give it back to the source.
And the third question. The book presents this as the most emotionally potent one. What has this belief cost me? This is where you do the cold, hard calculation. What's the real cost? 10 years of stagnating in a job because you were afraid to ask for a raise based on that belief. Missed opportunities to travel. The constant grinding stress that maybe even eroded your health. That clear-eyed assessment, the resulting anger or frustration at the cost. That's presented as necessary fuel for the demolition. It gives you the power to swing the sledgehammer.
Wow. So once the slum is demolished, the site is clear. Step 3 is immediate. Build a new framework. You can't leave a vacuum. You have to immediately replace every single piece of garbage belief you just smashed with a powerful, emotionally charged, positive declaration. So you replace, I will always struggle with something like, I am a money magnet. Large sums of money flow to me easily and frequently because the value I provide to the world is immense and appreciated. Something strong like that.
And the book is really prescriptive about the action here. It insists, write these new truths down. On index cards, sticky notes, whatever, and plaster them everywhere. Your bathroom mirror, your car dashboard, your computer monitor. The idea is to bombard your subconscious with the new positive program relentlessly until the slumlord's old rickety shack is completely gone, replaced by this unshakable, custom-built framework for abundance. Okay, foundations poured, frameworks up. Now we actually start the construction. This is part 2, starting with chapter 5, defining the unambiguous blueprint. And right away, the book warns that just kind of vaguely wishing for more money, that's completely useless as an instruction.
Yeah, it's like the worst possible command you could give your subconscious, which the book keeps comparing to a GPS, right? Imagine typing somewhere nice into your car's navigation. Where would it take you? Nowhere specific. The subconscious needs a precise, crystal clear, unambiguous destination address before it can even start calculating the best route. Vague desires. They only ever lead to vague, kind of unsatisfying results.
But even before you set the destination coordinates, the book insists you got to define the emotional fuel for the journey, your why. Because without a really deep, compelling emotional reason driving you, The moment construction gets a little difficult and you'll just quit. A dollar amount on its own, it's just a number. It has no power to sustain you through real challenges.
That why is the deep stuff, right? The soul-level purpose underneath the money goal. What does that financial freedom actually feel like in your body, in your life?
Yeah.
Is it maybe the feeling of waking up on a Tuesday morning, realizing with a jolt that nobody owns your time today? Or is it the profound peace of knowing you can write a huge check for your kid's education without even blinking? That emotional fuel, the book argues, is the only thing powerful enough to overcome inertia and inevitable setbacks.
Once that fuel tank is properly filled, then the book outlines the 4 essential elements of the non-negotiable order. These are the precise specifications needed for your wealth blueprint.
Okay, first is the exact income. And this is critical.
Okay.
It must be written in the present tense as if it's already happening, and it has to be quantified. So not, I will earn more, but I am easily and joyfully earning $6 amount every single month. That present tense is key. It tricks the subconscious out of its tendency to keep goals perpetually off in the future somewhere.
Right. Second element, the exact net worth. What's the total amount of wealth you're building? This helps your mind think bigger, more holistically about assets and investments, not just the monthly cash flow. Third, the deadline. This is apparently crucial. A goal without a specific date, let's pick one, say, by September 27th, 2027 is just a daydream. It lacks urgency. The deadline is what activates the subconscious servant to start working backward, figuring out the steps.
And the fourth component, which ties right back to the law of resonance and that whole mirror idea, is the value exchange. Wealth doesn't just appear. The book says it's always a byproduct of value you provide to others. So you have to clearly define how this wealth is being earned. Are you being compensated as a world-class executive coach, an innovative software developer, an inspiring artist, a top salesperson? You define the contribution you're making, not just the cash you want.
And then you take these 4 points, exact income, exact net worth, deadline, value exchange, and you combine them into a single powerful paragraph. This becomes your statement of intent. And the instruction is very clear. You have to burn this destination into your subconscious circuitry. Read it aloud twice a day, every day, with passion, with absolute conviction, feeling the reality of it now.
Okay, so we've defined the destination with laser precision. That's step 1 of the construction. Chapter 6 then introduces what the book calls the high-octane fuel for the journey itself, gratitude. And the argument here is pretty profound. Gratitude isn't just the effect of receiving good things, it's actually the cause of abundance.
It's positioned as the ultimate anxiety killer, too. From a purely neurochemical standpoint, the book explains, it's literally impossible to feel genuine, deep fear and genuine, deep gratitude at the exact same time. They can't coexist. Plus, genuine gratitude broadcasts the highest possible frequency. It tells the mirror of reality, wow, look at all I already have. And the mirror is compelled to reflect back even more abundance. It's like a magnet.
And they capture this principle so simply. Whatever you appreciate, appreciates. It makes perfect sense. If you genuinely appreciate the $10 you happen to have in your wallet right now, you're signaling more of this, please, and you attract more. But conversely, if you focus only on your lack, this is all I have, you're effectively watering the weeds of scarcity. You're telling the universe, deliver more lack, and it obliges.
So the book provides these really concrete, actionable tools to make gratitude less of a fleeting thought and more of a constant state of being. The first one is called the 10 before tech rule. It's presented as absolutely non-negotiable. It's a morning ritual. Before your feet even hit the floor, before you touch your phone or any tech, you write down 10 specific things you are genuinely grateful for.
And that specificity is really emphasized, isn't it? It's not enough to just jot down family.
Yeah.
You have to get granular. The way the morning sun looks streaming through my kitchen window, or the smell of the coffee brewing, or maybe the specific comfort of my dog curled up on my feet. Doing that forces your mind out of that generalized morning worry and into pinpointed present moment appreciation.
The second tool is kind of quirky but practical. Weaponize a gratitude rock. The idea is you find a small, smooth stone, or maybe use a specific coin, and you carry it in your pocket all day. It acts as a physical trigger. Every time your fingers touch it throughout the day, you have to pause just for a second and name one thing you're grateful for in that exact moment, even if you're stuck in traffic. Okay, grateful for the safety of my car, grateful for the music playing, grateful the AC works. It transforms gratitude from a morning exercise into an all-day state of awareness.
I like that. And the third tool, this was presented as the master level move. It's called the thank you in advance. After you read your statement of intent, your big goal, you deliberately close the loop by genuinely thanking the universe, your subconscious, whatever you're working with, for the goal already being fulfilled. Now, this preemptive gratitude, the book says, is the ultimate act of faith. It signals to your subconscious that the goal isn't some future possibility, it's an accomplished fact right now. And that apparently removes any lingering internal doubt about whether you deserve it.
Okay, so mindset is clearly the foundation, the engine. But Chapter 7 confirms that action is still the bridge. You can't just sit and visualize all day and expect results. However, and this is crucial, the book makes a massive distinction between two very different types of action. Desperate, fear-based hard hustle versus effortless, powerful, inspired action, which it calls flow.
Right. Hard hustle. We all know what that feels like. It's fueled by that deep sense of not enoughness. It feels heavy, draining, like you're rowing furiously against a really strong current. It's working those brutal 18-hour days, mainly because you're terrified that if you stop, even for a second, everything will just fall apart. You're basically trying to force the external reflection, the mirror, to change through sheer willpower and exhaustion.
Whereas inspired action, or flow, that's presented as the natural result of getting your internal alignment right first. You've essentially stopped rowing against the current, and instead, you've hoisted this giant sail. Now you're catching a powerful, unseen wind. It feels different. Lighter, more exciting, definitely more purposeful. Your subconscious, having been given that crystal clear blueprint back in Chapter 5, is now acting like your personal GPS, constantly calculating the fastest, most effective, least effort route to the destination.
So your job actually shifts dramatically with this model. Your main job isn't to sit down and meticulously strategize every single step of the next 5 years. Your real job is to focus on aligning your energy daily through the gratitude practice, the visualization, feeling it real, and then just listen. Listen for the very next simple, inspired step. The subconscious will feed you the breadcrumbs one at a time.
And that next step might seem completely random or illogical to your conscious mind. It might be a sudden, strong nudge to call an old client you haven't spoken to in 3 years. Or drive across town to check out a specific coffee shop you've never been to. Or start that niche blog about, I don't know, vintage teacups, something you love but always thought was too small or silly.
Okay, now here's where my logical brain wants to push back a little. It sounds lovely to just trust the nudge,
Yeah.
but what if that seemingly irrelevant action, what if it leads to a dead end? Or seems completely unrelated to the big $15,000 a month income goal? How does calling Aunt Mildred connect to that?
And that's the essential, maybe challenging lesson of this chapter. Your conscious mind, it cannot see the whole map. It operates linearly, logically, based only on past data. But your subconscious GPS, it sees the entire route, including all the shortcuts and, importantly, the serendipitous connections. It knows that calling that old client leads to them mentioning you to someone else who needs exactly your service. It knows the investment idea you'll overhear from the conversation next to you at that specific coffee shop. Ah, okay. So the instruction then is to act instantly on that nudge, that little intuitive hit. Don't overthink it, don't analyze it to death, because your conscious mind, the old CEO, will almost always dismiss the idea as stupid or too small or irrelevant.
Mhm.
By acting immediately, you tap into that magical timing, the friend you suddenly felt compelled to call. Turns out they were just thinking about you for a potential new venture. That, the book says, is the crucial difference between struggling and grinding for success versus attracting it effortlessly through flow.
But the book is very clear. This journey isn't just a smooth, easy uphill ride once you start doing the work. Chapter 8 introduces what it calls the mandatory challenge, the one that almost always arrives right before a major breakthrough, the ultimate test. This is described as the point where apparently 99% of people quit because they fundamentally misunderstand what's happening. They mistake this temporary setback for definitive proof of failure. This is when everything seems to just fall apart, right? Usually after you've been diligently doing the inner work, suddenly an unexpected massive bill lands on your doorstep. Or maybe a key client, someone you relied on, leaves without warning. Or your first big inspired action flops dramatically. And that's when the old terrible CEO voice comes roaring back louder than ever. See, I told you so. All this positive thinking nonsense is worthless. Get back to worrying.
But the purpose of this test, according to the book, is absolutely crucial to grasp. It's not some arbitrary punishment from the universe, it's the system's final exam. The test is basically asking you point blank, Who are you, NW? Are you still the person whose internal state is completely dictated by external events? Or are you now the architect, the one who knows deep down that the outer world is just a delayed reflection of an internal reality that has already shifted?
The book uses that really powerful analogy of the Chinese bamboo tree here. For the first 4 years after planting the seed, absolutely nothing appears to happen above ground. Nothing. But underground, it's building this massive, complex root system. Then, in the 5th year, seemingly overnight, it shoots up 90 feet in just 6 weeks. The setbacks you face during the ultimate test, that's your root building phase. It's ensuring your mental and emotional foundation is strong enough to actually support the huge skyscraper of wealth that's coming.
So, to pass this critical test, the book provides a very clear 4-step protocol. First, don't panic, acknowledge. The moment the challenge hits, you consciously declare internally, okay, this isn't a failure, this is the test of my faith, and I am absolutely going to pass it. That simple acknowledgement immediately has you out of victim mode and back into authorship.
Okay, step 1, acknowledge. Step 2, double down on practice. This feels counterintuitive, right? Your instinct might be to retreat when things get tough. But no, the book says you have to intensify the inner work, more gratitude practice. Read your statement of intent with even more passion and conviction. Spend extra time in the emotional architecture practice feeling the success now. You have to deliberately maintain that high frequency precisely when the external world is trying its hardest to drag you back down.
Third step, look for the lesson. Every single challenge, the book insists, carries a hidden gift or lesson. Ask yourself, what is this obstacle forcing me to become? Smarter, more resilient, maybe better at setting boundaries, that client who left. Maybe, just maybe, that's clearing space for newer, better, higher-paying clients who are actually a perfect match for your new frequency and value.
Find the gift.
Okay.
And finally, step 4, hold the line. This is really the essence of persistence in this context. You absolutely must maintain the feeling of the wish already fulfilled, even when, especially when, the outside world is screaming failure at you. By holding on to that inner state of faith, that knowing, you prove to yourself and to the system that you are now the identity of abundance. And at that point, the universe, the mirror, has no choice left but to deliver the external reality that perfectly matches your unwavering internal state.
All right. We've passed the test. The skyscraper is built. Now we move into part 3, living in abundance. And this kicks off with chapter 9, tackling a really subtle, often completely overlooked roadblock, the receiving problem. The book poses this great question. Are you fully prepared to catch a waterfall of wealth? Or are you showing up with just a tiny thimble?
The receiving problem. Yeah, this one's sneaky. Because most people, even after doing all the hard inner work, are apparently terrible receivers. We don't even realize it. We unconsciously sabotage the good things, the opportunities that feel maybe too good to be true, through things like deflection or feeling guilty or questioning if we really deserve it. And that broadcast effectively tells the universe, the system, actually, I'm not equipped to handle this much goodness. Please scale it back.
And the sabotage is often disguised as politeness or humility, right? Like automatically refusing a friend's genuine offer to buy you lunch, or brushing off a sincere compliment with, oh, this old thing, it was nothing, or feeling that weird, anxious guilt when you get an unexpected bonus. Every time we do that, the book says, we're essentially broadcasting, cancel the order. My container for receiving success is way too small. And eventually, the universe just stops offering because you keep swatting the opportunities away.
So how do we fix that? How do we build a bigger container? The book outlines 4 really practical ways to strengthen that receiving muscle. The first one is called the simple but revolutionary 2-word power move. Apparently, the only acceptable response to any compliment, big or small, is simply, thank you. That's it. No deflecting, no downplaying, just gracefully accepting the positive energy being offered. Doing this immediately starts retraining your nervous system to accept goodness as normal.
Okay, just thank you. Got it. Second, celebrate every single cent. This means treating all inflows of abundance, regardless of size, like a mini miracle. Whether you find a penny on the sidewalk, get an unexpected discount coupon in the mail, or land that massive 6-figure contract. You have to consciously pause, acknowledge it, and genuinely thank the system, the universe, your subconscious. By appreciating the small inflows, you signal loud and clear, yes, this is welcome, please send more.
Third, raise the thermostat. This addresses a huge self-sabotage mechanism. The book warns that often the biggest sabotage happens right when you start to exceed your own internal established financial comfort zone. Maybe you finally hit, say, $10,000 in your savings account. But if your internal thermostat is unconsciously set for struggling around $5,000, you will find unconscious ways to burn down the house. Impulsive spending, a sudden emergency, a bad investment, anything to bring the financial temperature back down to what feels familiar, even if familiar is scarcity.
Ooh, the thermostat analogy is good. So how do you raise it?
Yeah.
The book says you use visualization specifically for this. You consciously practice seeing your bank balance with 2 commas in it, or whatever your next level is. You have to mentally live in this state where that level of wealth feels completely normal, expected, even a little boring, so that when it actually arrives externally, you don't freak out and unconsciously try to get rid of it.
Makes sense. And the fourth way to improve receiving: open all the windows. You have to stop trying to dictate how the money has to show up. Be completely open to wealth flowing in from any direction, any channel matter. Maybe it's a gift, a surprise inheritance, a brilliant investment idea that pops up, a chance encounter, not just through the single narrow door of your paycheck. When you surrender the how, the universe can choose the fastest, most efficient, sometimes surprising route.
Okay, so we've learned to receive. Chapter 10 then shifts the focus from inflow to outflow the circulation of wealth. And it identifies 2 really common fear-based problems with outflow. First is the sieve. That's when people spend money unconsciously, often just to numb feelings of lack or anxiety. Money comes in, money goes right back out with little thought or joy. And the second is the dam that's hoarding money, saving obsessively for a rainy day, which, the book points out, by the very laws we've been discussing, is basically a command to the universe. Please send a financial storm so I can use this money.
Right. So the abundant person, the architect of abundance, doesn't act like a sieve or a dam. They see themselves, the book says, as a powerful, healthy river. Water, money, energy, value flows in naturally. It nourishes the banks, their life, their family, their experiences, and then it flows back out, supporting the wider ecosystem through spending, giving, investing, all the while trusting that the source is constant, abundant, infinite. The power is in that constant, confident circulation.
And the book breaks down 3 essential channels for this healthy circulation. The first one, maybe surprisingly, is giving. Generous, cheerful giving, given without expectation of return, is presented as the ultimate declaration of abundance. It creates a vacuum in the system that reality apparently rushes to fill. It should be non-negotiable, the book argues, even if you start small, like automating just 1% of your income to a cause you believe in. Because the act itself broadcasts the powerful signal, I have so much, more than enough, that I can give it away freely.
Okay, giving is channel 1. The second channel is spending, which is about nourishing the banks of your own river. But this has to be conscious and joyful spending, not unconscious, sieve-like spending. The specific instruction here is fascinating. When you pay your bills, pause and consciously bless them. Feel genuine gratitude for the service provided, the warmth from the heating bill, the light from the electric bill, the security of the mortgage payment, the value you got from that purchase. When you do that, you stop seeing spending as a loss or a drain. You start seeing it as directing resources to support other people and businesses while receiving immense value in return. It shifts the whole energy.
And the third channel is managing, which is about building the wealth base itself, creating the ocean your river flows into. And the crucial psychological shift here is about how you save and invest. You stop saving for a rainy day fund. Instead, you automate transfers to build a freedom fund or maybe an opportunity fund. Just changing the name removes that negative expectation of catastrophe. You're now building resources for future joyful expansion and possibilities, not bracing for disaster.
And when it comes to investing, the book recommends changing your internal language and perspective too. You're not just shuffling numbers around on a spreadsheet. Think of it like you're dispatching little employees, your dollars, to go out into the world and work diligently for you, bringing back even more employees' returns over time. This mindset transforms wealth management from something potentially scary or boring into an act of empowerment and active participation in creation. Okay, this entire system, this whole journey, culminates in the final chapter, Chapter 11, installing the prosperity autopilot. The ultimate goal here is to move all these principles, all these practices, from conscious, sometimes effortful application into unconscious competence, making them your new default setting, your automatic way of being.
This is the final crucial identity shift. You stop thinking or saying, I'm a person who's trying to become wealthy, and you step fully into the declaration, the knowledge, I am a wealthy and prosperous person. My outer world is simply in the process of catching up to my already established inner reality. You fully embody the identity of the architect of abundance. You operate from that core truth automatically.
And to help install this new identity as the default, the book provides a really simple yet powerful daily program. It's designed to burn this new frequency into your subconscious operating system morning, noon, and night. It starts with the morning ignition takes about 5 minutes total.
That quick morning routine includes 2 minutes of specific gratitude before your feet even hit the floor, 1 minute reading your powerful statement of intent, your blueprint, aloud with feeling, and then 2 minutes in the feel it real, practice vividly stepping into the accomplished feeling of your biggest goal right now. That combination basically sets your vibrational frequency, your channel, for the entire day ahead.
Okay, morning ignition sets the tone. Then comes the daytime cruise control. This involves consciously curating your environment throughout the day, like unfollowing negative people or news sources online, trading mindless doom scrolling for reading inspiring content or listening to uplifting material. And when an old negative thought pops up like, ugh, I can't afford that, you use what the book calls the calm, immediate, cancel, clear command. You just mentally override the faulty sensor, like swatting away a fly, without engaging with the negativity or giving it energy.
And crucially, throughout the day, you have to continually act like it.
Yeah.
You start making small, everyday choices from the perspective of your new, abundant identity. Ask yourself, would the wealthy, successful version of me complain endlessly about this minor setback, or would they calmly look for a creative solution? Would they be stingy and fearful with money, or would they tip generously and confidently? These small choices constantly reinforce the new identity until it becomes automatic.
And finally, there's the evening landing, another quick 5-minute routine to program your subconscious while you sleep. First part is keeping an evidence log. You quickly write down just 3 things, big or small, that happened that day, which serve as evidence that the system is working, that reality is responding to your new frequency. Could be finding that parking spot right out front, getting an unexpected discount, having an inspired idea pop into your head, receiving good news, anything that confirms progress.
And the very last step of the day is the release. After logging your evidence, you consciously, mentally hand your big goal and all the worries about the how and when over to your powerful subconscious mind. You trust its infinite intelligence and calculating power to figure out the details. And then you go to sleep in a state of peaceful, accomplished trust. This, the book claims, guarantees your subconscious works diligently on the solution overnight while your conscious mind rests and recharges. Hashtag outro.
Wow. So looking back at this whole deep dive, this book really does offer a complete, systematic roadmap. It's all about internal transformation, isn't it? Framing wealth not as luck or struggle, but as a predictable outcome of understanding and applying this law of resonance.
Absolutely. It's quite a journey it lays out, moving the focus entirely away from that exhausting external battle,
Yeah.
fighting for scraps, and putting it squarely on mastering your internal alignment. It really feels like it gives you back the steering wheel of your own reality. It does. So just to quickly recap the whole arc of the journey, the book detailed for you, the listener. Part 1, the power plant. That was all the essential demolition and foundation work. Firing that inner terrible CEO, recognizing that emotion, not just thought, is the real rocket fuel, and understanding how the world acts as a giant mirror. And crucially, learning how to expose the rot and really sledgehammer that inner slumlord of old limiting beliefs back in chapter 4.
Right. Then part 2, the action plan. That was the construction phase. We defined the absolutely critical, unambiguous blueprint with total specificity in Chapter 5. We learned how to fuel the journey with that high-octane gratitude in Chapter 6. And we explored how to shift from that grinding, fear-based hard hustle into effortless, inspired flow in Chapter 7. And maybe most importantly, how to maintain that unshakable faith when facing the ultimate test in Chapter 8, proving our foundation was strong enough for the skyscraper.
Exactly. And finally, part 3, the open house, was all about receiving and sustaining that flow of abundance, learning the crucial skill of receiving, trading that thimble for a reservoir in chapter 9, establishing a healthy circulatory money flow by becoming a river instead of a sieve or a dam in chapter 10, and then culminating in installing the powerful prosperity autopilot in chapter 11, making sure all these principles become your new default effortless identity.
Yeah, the core message running through it all seems crystal clear. You are the architect. You always had the power to design and build the future you desire. You just needed, perhaps, to install the correct operating system first and then use the precise blueprints laid out here.
And the ultimate takeaway, the final provocative thought the book leaves you with is this. The construction project is actually never truly finished. You'll always be expanding, reaching for more. But if you've done this work, your foundation is now unshakable. So the real challenge going forward isn't even about manifesting the wealth anymore. It's simply about living consistently every single day from the identity of the abundant, powerful architect you've already created on the inside. Because that unwavering internal alignment, that's what compels the outer world, the mirror, to catch up, often at lightning speed.